Benecke and Sallie Spirit. They have been to many of the Unity churches around the Pacific Northwest, so it's a pleasure having you here at Unity of Tacoma this morning.
Thank you so much for
Thank
having
you.
us.
Thank you. Alrighty, Doug, if you could lead us into this morning's prayer, that would be amazing.
Let us join together in prayer. Divine indwelling Spirit, may we open to your presence today and every day. May we feel your nurturing energy, and may we in turn nurture and love those we are privileged to meet. We are all your children. Amen.
Amen. Beautiful.
Just as long as I am in this world, I am the light of the world.
Just as long as I am in this world,
I am the light of the world, light of the world, light of the world. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. Just as long as I am in this world, I am the light of the world. Just as long as I am in this world, I am the light of the world. Just as long as I am in this world, I am the light of the world, light of the world, light of the world. May all beings be free from sorrow and the causes of sorrow. May all beings be free from sorrow and the causes of sorrow. Just as long as I am in this world, I am the light of the world. Just as long as I am in this world, I am the light of the world. Just as long as I am in this world, I am the light of the world, 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 light of the world.
Thank you, hon. Good morning again. We are privileged to be with you this morning. My name's Doug Benecke. This is my wife, Sallie Spirit. Today, of course, is Mother's Day, and my talk is called Divine Mother, Every Mother. What was her flesh became your own. She gave her blood, she grew your bone. For months you swam within her tide, and then upon her hip did ride. She carried you when you were weak. She taught you how to walk and speak. She gave you rules and moral scope. She brought you chicken soup and hope. So honor her who brought you here, and love forever, Mother dear. And if you can, when you are grown, become a mother like your own. Have you ever heard a public radio show where an announcer says, "This hour's programming made possible by a grant from such and such foundation." And has it ever occurred to you that the announcement is missing most of the story? I mean, sure, the Institute for Advances in Dental Floss or whatever paid for an hour of programming on the station, but what really made that hour possible? I think if the radio host was telling the whole truth, their announcement might sound like this. This hour of programming made possible by the Institute of Cheating on Your Driver's Test, or whatever, but go on to say, but seriously, everyone, what really made this hour possible were the mothers of every person working on today's program, for their tireless, usually unrewarding and nearly endless work of carrying a baby to term, going into what was no doubt a long and painful labor, spending their time, I mean, all their nights and weekends, feeding their child, changing diapers, toilet training, teaching the child to walk, to talk, to dress himself, to not pick their nose, to get along with their siblings, or at least declare a truce, to ride a bike, to play sports, hopefully without sustaining severe or mortal injury, helping them to get through elementary school, middle school, high school, ensuring they survive the social and dating scene without crises that were anything like as dramatic as a teenager thinks they are, helping them to take all the steps to launch them into the world and into a successful life, to do cool things like working on the radio program you just heard. So, Mom, it's really thanks to you that we heard this gripping documentary on the mating habits of the earthworms of Borneo, or what have you. There is no way, of course, that any of us could possibly be here without first of all being born. And I have it on good authority. Sallie's a nurse. She told me this, that one of the essential components in every birth is the presence of someone's mother. That's a scientific fact, folks. And it goes without saying that following birth, there are about 1 million things that Mom ends up doing for us, as partially outlined above. She did 1 million things. Perhaps this is a good moment, in fact, for us to do 2 things. The first is for each of us to please just take a moment to recognize all the mothers who are participating, listening, taking in the service at Unity of Tacoma. If you listening to this right now are a mother, biological, adoptive, a stepmother, blended family, what have you, we honor you in this moment for all you have done for us. We honor you. Secondly, we might recognize that each mother we pay homage to also was mothered. Could be celebrating their own mother, and so forth. Obviously, if we keep extending this concept of who mothered whom back and back, I mean, we'd kind of have the whole begat section of the Bible in reverse. So we'll move on. But what we are connecting with and hopefully operating from is a sense of gratitude for that person or those persons. A little more about that later, who have been mothers in each of our lives. I'd like to spend a few moments talking right now about gratitude itself. Part of me says, Mother, please, do I have to? It doesn't take a genius to see that some people are happier than other people. One thing the science of positive psychology tells us is that happiness is correlated with, and in many cases may be caused by, in part, the conscious practice of gratitude. It is so easy for any of us to focus on what is difficult, what we're struggling with, what pushes our many and varied buttons. Certainly in these days of restrictions, of sheltering, we can go in that direction. Kayla, though, is just telling us that she uses the extra time available because we're social distancing to be on a drive and see something beautiful to paint. That is an example of taking the restriction and focusing on what you can be grateful for. How much do we focus moment by moment and day by day on what we're grateful for? I think you would all recognize this. Your speaker knows it and then forgets to practice it about 9 moments out of 10 probably. And that's why we come together, in part, to remind ourselves and to remind each other of what's important, what to put our focus on. Do you know about a gratitude practice called the Nikon gratitude practice, Japanese? I don't mean it's mom gives you a really nice Nikon camera and you say, gee, thanks. Nikon practice is spelled in English transliteration N-A-I-K-A-N, different from the camera. It's a Japanese exercise of consciously focusing on everything that has ever been done for you or given to you. It's a structured contemplation. You go on a Nikon retreat. You have breakfast, then sit in a room and try consciously to remember everything that was done on your behalf between the ages of birth and 6 years old and feel gratitude for it. You try to think of every feeding, every diaper change, every hug, every moment of love. Think of your screams and tantrums and 3 a.m. crying being lovingly tended to. You think of being taught to talk, to walk, use the bathroom, sit at the table, ride a bicycle or a big wheel, tie your shoes, tell time, all of it. Try to think of every part of it you can consciously remember or simply recreate mentally what you think must have happened and feel grateful for a loving mother and father and aunt and big brother or sister and whoever else who was there to take care of your needs day by day for your first 6 years. Have lunch and then do ages 7 to 12 and so forth. I guess the length of the retreat depends on exactly how old you are. Some folks would just be away for a weekend. Maybe Kayla, because she's young enough. Others, like us, might need to pack more clothes for a rather longer stay. Now this almost sounds punishing. You go in the corner and remember all the nice things your mom and dad did for you, working so hard while you were finger painting on the walls. But the difference, of course, is that this is a practice to be done when fully adult, or as fully as adult as we ever get. It's a way to build joy and connection to those we love and are grateful for. However you like to do it, whether describing it with this Japanese word that you've never heard of, or just thinking of it as being thankful, the message is that focusing on gratitude is good practice for our mental health, for our spirit, for our community. As arduous and fully committed a task as giving birth and being a biological mom is, I'll confess right now I haven't done those things, but I've heard about them. I think a real Mother's Day celebration has room to expand its focus, and truly must, if we're being inclusive. There are, of course, moms who adopt children, moms who provide foster care. There are mothers who parent their partner's children. There are mothers who seem to mother the whole darn neighborhood. But the mother function isn't, and probably never was, restricted to women who are bringing up kids in families, or end up being a maternal magnet for all the kids on the block. The mother function, when you really think about it, may not even be restricted to women, though that's a rather large topic to explore. I think we're safe in saying, at the very least, that women are probably usually better at it than us guys. A fellow named Ricky Minor, for a time the musical director for American Idol, once told a colleague that he never knew his father and his mother didn't raise him because she was an addict. Well, who raised you then? Was the question his friend asked. And Mr. Minor said that he found many people to help him along the way. That he always sought out mentors, people to give him advice, people who could help him find his true path. The point here is that while no healthy, whole person enters into parenting with any intent to do other than all they can for their child, by the same token, no parent is 100% successful. Of course, nearly all parents must say something like, "I'll never do X," whatever it was that mom or dad did, be that drink too much, or abuse their child physically, or get divorced, be overly critical. "I'll never do that," we say. And then we don't drink, but we're bitter and perfectionistic. Or we never hit our offspring, but we abuse them with our words. We don't get divorced, but our kid ends up growing up in a miserable, hostile home. Or to avoid being critical, we set such loose boundaries that our child loses their sense of what values to follow. Mothering or father is probably the most demanding work we can ever find, and no one achieves perfection. For this reason, when I celebrate Mother's Day, I don't think only of my own dear mother, Maybelle, who listened to me recite The Walrus and the Carpenter when I was 6. And listened to me talk a lot, and came to my school plays and basketball games. I think also of my college teacher, my dear friend Leslie, who has, I'm going to tear up here, who has helped me through numberless tough moments over the last 40 years. I've always had her on speed dial, even before we had speed dial. I think of my longtime voice teacher, Tommy, whose work is clearly not done, and who accepted and taught me without judging or shaming me. Even when I came to voice lessons hungover, in the dark past days when alcohol was like a toxic parent to me. And I think of my own dear, sweet Sallie.
Oh, I'm glad you think of me.
I do. Who has nourished and challenged me through 3 decades. of rich connection. For mothering is something that grows, that happens in the aggregate, in community. For those of us who have or have had a flesh and blood bio mom, nothing replaces her. But so much enriches her contribution to our lives. It truly takes a village. And sometimes we feel that those who offer us a spiritual connection, one we may not have experienced in our own family, are like another mother or another father, another sister or brother to us. I believe this gives us insight into the words of Jesus recorded in the 12th chapter of Matthew, where it says, Jesus was speaking to the crowd, and someone told Jesus, your mother and your brothers are standing outside and they want to speak to you. And Jesus asked, who is my mother? Who are my brothers? He then pointed to his disciples and said, look, these are my mother and brothers. Anyone who does the will of God in heaven is my brother and sister and mother. The message is that we are born of our mother and owe our very lives to her, but that there is some other rich and spiritual connection that we may also be born of, that we are born again, perhaps, as the saying goes, in the Spirit, and that within that reality, there too we find figures who parent us, who mentor and counsel us, who cherish us, and perhaps who are like a father and a mother to us as we grow in new dimensions. We Americans are a proud people who cherish independence. And over the years, we've developed some themes in our culture. The self-made man. Pick yourself up by your bootstraps. March to the beat of a different drummer. Follow your heart. None of these ideas are faulty, exactly, but they are incomplete. The truth is, we are, each of us, not independent, but interdependent. Our freedom, our ability to operate differently and craft solutions to our life problems are all based on our relationships with each other. We carry our parents with us in our hearts, and each of us is built not just from their DNA, but from their psyches. We've gleaned hope from our mother and courage from our father, but we may have also harvested a measure of anxiety from mom, a portion of hopelessness from dad. We have each of us free will, hence personal responsibility to put together the puzzle pieces of our lives as best we can so that we can be strong enough and present enough for others to lean on and gain nourishment from us. In the same way that we have relied on and been sustained by our connections with those who've loved us, our mothers, our fathers, our siblings, our teachers, our ministers, our communities, and our friends. When I speak of being present for others, I'm talking about an unselfish and nurturing other consciousness. And I believe that's the challenge offered to all of us now, today, as we celebrate motherhood. To join in and contribute to the nurturing that is the heart of it. At this time, perhaps more than ever, There's such a multitude of souls who need help, of suffering to salve, of wounds to staunch. Finally, I want to say it's not just the distress of our fellow creatures that summons our attention today, but the tribulations of the very soil that is the mother to us all. It's time, I would say, for each of us to now play a part in mothering Mother Earth herself, in order that the fragile breath of our globe's atmosphere will remain life-sustaining for our children, our grandchildren, and all who follow us. So may we today, in honoring and thanking our own mothers, be prepared and resolved to take on all the tasks of mothering, of parenting any we find who toil and are heavy laden, giving to one another and to our birth planet herself, the same way a loving mother feeds her children. For what was her flesh became your own. She gave her blood, she grew your bone. For months you swam within her tide, and then upon her hip did ride. She carried you and you were weak. She taught you how to walk and speak. She gave you rules and moral scope. She brought you chicken soup and hope. So honor her who brought you here, and love forever, mother dear. And if you can, when you are grown, become a mother like your own. We're held together by a common thread. From now till forever on the paths we're led. We cannot be lost, we can only be found. We dance together on the sacred ground. We dance together on the sacred ground. Hold out your hand to me, that's a common thread. The ties that hold us soothe my weary head. I once was lost, I know I am found. We dance together on the sacred ground. We dance together on the sacred ground. Come and sing with me, that's a common thread. We'll sing forever on the paths we're led. We will not be lost, we will only be found. We dance together on the sacred ground. We dance together by a common thread. From now till forever on the paths we'll lead. We cannot be lost, we can only be found. We dance together on the sacred ground. We dance together on the sacred ground. Yes, we dance together on the sacred ground. Let us join together, taking in all we've experienced up to this point, allowing the message of Spirit to unite us in this sacred place. Let your body relax. Let the breath flow easily in and out. Let us feel that joining together, that cord of connection, just as we were connected to our mother's body so spiritually. We are connected to one another. We are not separate and apart. We are one. We're held in the loving arms of Divine Mother. Let us feel that embrace, breath by breath. We'll take some time just in the silence to feel that nurturing touch of Mother God, holding, treasuring us, feeling that love. Divine Presence, may we continue to know your touch, your love, your embrace, and may we be available ever to spread that love, knowing we are a part of that divine presence ourselves, to offer that as we go forward. Amen. Let your heart stay open, even in the pain, even in the rain. You know the sun will shine. Let your heart stay open, even on the days, even even when the waves of the world have us crying. Let your heart stay open, open to love, open to love. Let your heart stay open, open to love, open to love. Let your heart stay open, even with the hate, even with the state of the world all around. Let your heart stay open, even when it breaks, even when it shakes with a crying sound. Let your heart stay open, open to love, open to love. Let your heart stay open, open to love, open to love. Let your heart stay open, even through the night, even when the light seems like it's dead and gone. Let your heart stay open, even when you doubt, even when your shout longs to say you're done. Let your heart stay open, open to love, open to love. Let your heart stay open, open to love, open to love, open to love, open to love.
Thank you again, Doug, Benecke, and Sallie Spirit, for the beautiful message and music. I really appreciate how you dived further into what the meaning of motherhood is. That was just absolutely beautiful. So I have a few last announcements, and then Doug is going to pray us out, and we're going to have our last song. So our website, unityoftacoma.org, is being updated weekly now. So for the fastest updates on what's happening, you can sign up for SMS text updates from our website. You'll be able to see any projects that we have going, as well as when our church is going to open back up. I think that is, oh, actually, no, my bad. If you feel called to it, you can donate on our website as well. But I think we can all realize that right now is not the easiest time for some people. So just talking about this message, just sharing where you are spending your Sunday mornings helps Unity out so much. We have a message and we want to give it out to as many people as possible and make your life as full of happiness and content as we can. So please join us next Sunday. Doug, on to you.
Of course, Kayla, we loved having this chance to be doing this service. Thank you, and thanks to the technical help and all in the leadership for everyone out there, we all made a decision, game day decision, that we may as well include the peace song because people are used to singing that. So wherever you are, however you're hearing this today, please join with us in the traditional peace song before we do a closing benediction. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be, with God as Creator. Guided all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow, to take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. There is one power and one presence in the universe, in this church, and in my life. God the good, omnipotent. Amen.
Amen.
Alrighty. Thank you everyone for signing on this morning. Thank you again, Doug and Sallie. Hope to see you again one Sunday.
We'd love it.
Have a great Mother's Day, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.